and welcome to another Website Depot podcast. As ever, I'm your host, Greg Benevent, and today I'm glad to have another wonderful guest from our clients here, Mr. Stephen Wilson. How you doing today, Stephen?
Awesome. Good to meet you, Greg.
Good to meet you too. Good to meet you too. Okay, so yeah, if you could tell us, a little bit about yourself and what it is you do there.
Well, I'm a lighting marketing consultant, meaning that I use the internet, online internet only, to sell LED products. At this point, LED products. That's taking over the market right now. So that's what I do. I have about 10 different websites, and they're all over the place. And I have clients that call me from all over the United States, Mexico, Canada, Caribbean, even as far down as Australia and so forth. So the internet is very powerful, as you know, and that's how I do my business. I've been in the lighting business now since the early 90s.
Oh,
back then we would go door to door, knocking on doors, having people talk to people about converting from the old T12. That was a large tube lamp, a large lamp. You call them T12. You may have seen them. The old dinosaurs, long 8-foot tubes.
Oh, I have seen those. Yeah.
Those were ancient times. They used to have 4 of them in a box in the ceiling and so forth. So the Edison companies and the PG&E, they were giving out rebates back in the 90s, almost like between 50 and 80% you get payback just on switching from these old T12 fluorescent bulbs to what was then T8 fluorescent bulbs. There were still fluorescent bulbs back in the 90s, but the business, but they want the business because, again, decrease the amount of usage. That was back in the 90s. That's how I started in the business back then. I went into the internet marketing business as well. And then later on, I combined the two, internet marketing and lighting experience, back at about 2008, I want to say, 2009.
Wow.
And back then, we were still doing fluorescent. We were still doing induction lighting. And then that's when LED hit a few years later.
Okay. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because it's something I know, having worked for blogs and written for your site, that I was struck by when I was going through it. You mentioned early on in your response there about how LED has taken over the market. If you could tell us a bit as to exactly why that took place and how that came to be and why it's so dominant now.
Well, it's the reason it's so dominant is because of the savings, the particular savings and the flexibility that the store owners can have with their lighting. They have more control over their lighting with LED. So there's, besides the savings and the maintenance and so forth, because again, LEDs, once they're up there, I mean, they're gonna last to the next, whatever the next iteration, whatever the next thing coming out. LEDs will be up there 12, 15 years and so forth.
Wow.
For the most part. And so unless the box itself gets damaged or there's leakage or water in the old type of housing, that was a problem years ago, but not so much these days. So once the LEDs get up there, it's like I said, it's maintenance free, and the store owners, the property managers, the end user has control over his lighting much more than he had over the fluorescent and induction lighting those days.
Okay. So from what you're saying, it's something where it's because I can see someone being like, okay, do I really want to have to spend this money to put in these lights and all that? Well, it seems like from what you're saying, very much it's absolutely worth it in terms of both the money you'll save now and in the future, as well as, that control that you'd mentioned.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the payback on the LED, converting from fluorescent to LED or induction to LED, the payback is very small time. So relatively speaking, maybe 3 years, maybe 4 years, depending upon the operation. It can be a very small, short time of payback.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm so glad you said depending on the operation, because I was going back to your initial answer and you mentioned how you have just so many clients across so many industries all over the world there. And I was wondering if, you could touch on just a bit of because, how LED lights really do differ and can help so many different kinds of businesses in different situations.
Right. So, for instance, you take a business that relies on color in their business, such as a florist.
Gotcha.
A clothing store. So they want a crisper light that reflects the color, that brings out the color of the merchandise, whether it's clothing or color or flowers. They want that bang, that push. So that's where LEDs have it all over any other type of lighting that came before it, because they can give you that punch. and really reflect the light. So that when you go to a convenience store, for instance, and you pull open the soda or the beer, and the lights, the packaging can look kind of bright and jumps out at you. It may even look frosty. I don't know, but that's what LEDs will give you, that mental aspect of this is a fresh item. It's fresh. It's bold. It's looking right at me. So again, that's what the owners have, that flexibility. And again, that selling, it does help them increase their sales because of that aspect of their business, whether it's clothing or whether it's a flower shop or a grocery store.
Wow, that there's this real presentational aspect that makes everything just pop that much more attractive to you. That's amazing. Okay, so I guess, and maybe you've touched on this in some of what you've said so far, but like, is there anything in particular that you wish, your prospective clients or customers maybe knew a bit more about, the lights or what you offer or that kind of thing?
I call myself the lighting concierge. So there are websites where you can go and just push a button and get the product. Well, I found over 12 years of this that by giving a real personal service to the customer, a lot of times you have to give that service to find out exactly what they want. You dig out the question so that maybe you don't need to go that way. Maybe we can go this way. Again, when I would like to see that customers just don't go to a website and think they know lighting as much as they know their own business. You may need somebody to kind of, not maybe hold your hand, but kind of give you some feedback and give you some information as to, okay, this type of light, this type of color, we just came out with this new thing, because even though it's new, it's still changing. It's still evolving, and the market is changing. So there are things that by talking to somebody like myself who can guide you through the process, perhaps I can be more helpful to someone than someone has to go to a website and just push a button.
No, that makes all the sense in the world, because I imagine, I'm not a business owner myself, but I certainly talk to many of them, and I absolutely I would imagine it'd be just the strongest, impulse to be like, okay, that looks like a good light. I'm going to buy that for my company. Whereas it seems like you can kind of shepherd them towards, hey, this is what's happening now. This is what maybe has worked for your industry or something like you in the past. Here's what you might want to look at, that sort of thing.
Right. My being a marketing company, I have, about 25, 30 different suppliers, manufacturers on my website. So,
oh, wow.
A range of products. So therefore I can really help somebody decide between suppliers even. So I can give them that feedback, that information, give more information to make an intelligent decision for them. So I sell a range of products, from tubes and panel lights up in the ceiling to explosion-proof lighting to aviation warning lights, high temperature lights that go into high temperature areas where they have up to 165 degree temperatures. So there's all types of lighting that I do sell, and the customers just need to know the difference between the different manufacturers out there, because there are differences.
Right. Absolutely. No, that of course, that makes all the sense in the world. That what some manufacturers do, even within offering the same kind of product, there'd be different idiosyncrasies, different focuses from one manufacturer to the next. Well, I got to ask, after you said all that, just previously in this, you'd mentioned, store owners and all that. And then all of a sudden there were explosion lights and lights 160 degrees and all that. So I'm thinking like, okay, just in case someone's watching this that maybe doesn't necessarily know that, hey, they would be a good fit for you with their business. If you could go into maybe a little bit more detail about the kinds of clients you have and their particular applications.
Like I said, from the small store, convenience store operator who only needs a few lights, half a dozen lights, he can come to me and we can make some choices and give him some solutions that he's looking for. Up to the bigger companies that are looking for a couple of hundred different lights and different types of lights. Maybe they want indoor lighting. Perhaps they need outdoor parking lot lighting. Perhaps they, like I said, there are explosion-proof lighting. Those lights go on oil platforms or anywhere where there may be refueling or meal work, anywhere where there's combustible items and so forth. They have to use a certain type of lighting, which is called hazard location lighting, or we commonly just call it explosion-proof lighting.
Wow. Okay.
And aviation type lighting as well, for landing helicopters, landing planes, and so forth. Solar lighting. Solar lighting is, I've been waiting for that to take off for years now. I tell you, it's slowly getting to the point, but I've positioned myself, whenever it does take off, I'll be ready. But yes, I do also solar lighting as well. It could be lighting for a billboard. It could be lighting for a street light. A lot of home HOAs, they'll call homeowner association,
Yeah.
they call us as they need to upgrade their lighting as well. A
Oh.
lot of times they're going through a maintenance company, but sometimes they don't have a maintenance company. Perhaps they just have somebody on their board. And so
Oh,
therefore
geez.
they can call me and we can definitely chat back and forth and decide what a solution, a proper solution is that they're trying to do for their either indoor, typically it's outdoor lighting that they're upgrading, or maybe they're looking to get something a little bit more decorative. So we also do decorative, that's another source of good decorative
Oh,
lighting as well.
wow. Okay. I mean,
And
so it,
poles too. So if you need light poles, we also do light poles too.
wow, that's so much more. I mean, beyond even just establishments, how you talked about it's lighting things that are outside, billboards and poles and all that. I mean, I'm very much left with the impression that, like, hey, if you're watching this or listening to it and you may be in need of some lighting, it's worth reaching out to you just to see, hey, you can certainly steer them in a certain direction towards something that could really help them out.
Yes, LED Pros Worldwide. My website, my main website is a little different name, industriallightingfixtures.org.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I mean, a couple more questions I got to ask you. I mean, you mentioned about the solar lighting and waiting for that to to market to catch up to where the innovation is. I mean, you're obviously someone that's been around this industry for some time. You're a true professional. I mean, what is it? Off the top of your head, where do you think this is headed? Like, what's something new on the horizon that, hey, folks may not be aware of, to really help them out in the near future?
Right. What's coming on board right now in the last year has been more control for the owners. So there are
Mm.
controls for lighting that are coming on board. I'm not
Mhm.
necessarily into that aspect of it. That's for really large companies that are looking to really school districts and campuses that are
Gotcha.
looking to control their lighting. But that's
Mm.
something that's definitely coming on board. But coming down a notch from controlled lighting, there's
Mhm.
also where lighting, they're having adjustable lighting where they can also adjust the wattages. So maybe in one
Oh.
particular area of their business, they want it to be a little bit brighter. In this area, they want it a little dimmer. So
Uh-huh.
there's lighting controls in the field. They can make
Mhm.
an adjustment to how they want the wattage, maybe 30 watts here, maybe 40 watts here, maybe 50
Wow.
watts. Or they can also change the color temperature. We call it color temperature from a
Okay.
warm color to a bright white daylight color. So
Mhm.
from warm to bright white. So that's coming on the horizon with more and more fixtures starting to catch up and give user some flexibility and some options.
Wow, I mean, I've just been struck in our entire conversation about just how nuanced and detailed every aspect of lighting is, far beyond what I and certainly many of the folks I talk to in businesses would be aware of. Well, I mean, that's all the questions I had. I end every one of these by asking, is there something that I didn't ask you that you'd like to talk about, or what else would you like folks to know in addition here?
I thank you for that. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that
Mhm.
we've covered quite a bit, but I would like to, again, just repeat to customers
Please.
again, that lighting is so important. And I
Mhm.
have so many customers that do call me, and maybe they
Mhm.
decide on someone else or another solution. And they'll call me back in a year or two to find out, that didn't quite work out.
Oh,
So,
geez.
so again, because this business changes so rapidly, companies are coming in, they're going out, they change their names and so forth. You just need to be a little bit more careful. Warranties are very important in this business. It's like any business.
Mhm.
A customer wants to
Mhm.
be assured that a
Right.
company's going to be there when they have an issue.
Yeah.
If I have an
Yeah.
issue a year from now or 2 years from now, warranties typically last 5 years. Some
Oh,
last up to
wow.
10 years, depending upon the components, because that's another aspect of the business. Again, lighting is just like anything else. There's different grades of LED. And
Right.
a less expensive product is using a less expensive LED. A more expensive product is using a better brand of LEDs. Also a better driver, because those are the two things on with LED. There's a driver, and then there's the LEDs, and together they're packaged into a housing of some sort. So again, you can pick the lowest price, but again, the same thing we've always known: you get what
Yeah.
you pay for, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So those are the kind of things I would want someone who's looking for lighting to consider, that the cheapest price is not always the best price. You may want to talk to someone like myself and find out this is a good company. It's going to be around. Have they been around for a while? They're going to back up their product if I have an issue, because I'll be there to help them manage
Right.
any type of issue they may have and go between them and the end user and the manufacturer.
Right. I mean, what a benefit that is to have. And I love to use the word a lighting advisor, a lighting go-between, someone with knowledge and experience that can help to point you in the right direction for what can help your business.
Well, exactly. I mean, with so many lighting manufacturers that are in China naturally, and we do have a lot of U.S. based manufacturers, and also in Canada. But again, you need to know which companies have a better product for your particular situation, and how quickly
Right.
can I get it?
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to buy, well, this would be great lighting that we need right now that we're going to get it several months from now versus one that we're going to be able to get in a brief span of time.
And I
Right.
get that too. I get a customer calling me up, say, "Hey, this guy promised me that." Well,
Well, that's great. Well, Stephen, that is all the questions I had for you. I know I say this every week, but I genuinely learned a lot. I mean, that there was not just the parts of the light and the different pieces of it and the details and how it all adds up to, a real effect for your company versus just light.
that's great. Yes.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, on behalf of Website Depot, my name is Greg Benevent. Take it easy. Have a good night.
Thank you. Peace.